The twin suns of Norva Station burned high as ships came and went, loading cargo, selling fuel, or dropping junk no one wanted. Among the noise and dust, a human named Tomo worked quietly in his small repair shop. Tomo wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. He was just a simple mechanic who fixed old ships for a few coins. Most aliens laughed at him, thinking humans were weak and slow. But Tomo didn't care. He had a gift: he could fix anything if given a chance. One hot morning, while Tomo was working on a broken engine, a loud, cracked voice called from outside. "Hey, human, come look at this trash." Tomo wiped his hands and stepped out. 3 tall aliens from the Jork Union stood near a transport ship. Their blue skin shone under the sun, and their sharp eyes looked down at him. Behind them, sitting on a loader, was a cruiser ship, long, thin, and battered. Its outer hull was burned, the engines broken, and parts hung loose like torn cloth. "We dumped this wreck here. It's useless," said the first Jork, crossing his arms. "It won't fly. Even we couldn't fix it." The second alien laughed. "You want it, human? Take it. Worthless garbage." Tomo looked at the cruiser. He walked around it, running his hand over the cracked surface. The ship looked dead, but his eyes caught something. A strange marking near the engine port, one he had never seen. The shape was old, not Jork, not any common tech. "Does it work at all?" Tomo asked. The first Jork shrugged. "Jumps. Dead. Engine won't start. Control core locked. We tried nothing. It's scrap metal. If you want it, take it." Tomo nodded slowly. "I'll take it." The aliens laughed louder. "Foolish human. Enjoy your junk." They walked away, shaking their heads. Tomo stood there, staring at the ship. He didn't know why, but a small voice inside him said this was no normal wreck. Tomo brought the cruiser to his workshop. It barely fit inside, and he had to move other parts out of the way. He called the ship Starflame, not because it looked special, but because the name felt right. He spent the first day cleaning off dirt and burnt wires under the black marks. The metal was stronger than any alloy he had seen. Some panels were sealed with tech beyond his tools. When he opened the engine bay, he found a heart-shaped core glowing faintly. It pulsed like it was alive. "This is no garbage," Tomo whispered. Day after day, Tomo worked alone. He replaced cracked pipes, fixed the fuel lines, and cleaned the power feeds. The ship had systems even his scanner couldn't read. The control board inside was locked with symbols he didn't understand. But Tomo didn't give up. Instead of breaking the system, he studied it. He noticed the wires were linked by patterns of energy, like a living nerve. Slowly, he learned how the ship spoke to its controls. After a week, he unlocked the first system, a small shield generator hidden under the floor. The next day, he unlocked the auto repair mode that healed small cracks on its own. By the end of the second week, the engine core hummed louder when he touched the control panel. It was as if the ship was waiting for him. One evening, Tomo sat outside his shop, drinking a cup of hot leaf brew. His old friend Rollo, a trader from the nearby port, came by. "You're still working on that trash, Tomo?" Rollo laughed. "You really believe it'll fly?" Tomo smiled softly. "I think it will." Rollo shook his head. "You're a strange one, my friend. The Jork throw things away for a reason." Tomo only replied, "Maybe they threw away a treasure they didn't understand." By the third week, Tomo tried to power up the ship's engine. He sat in the pilot's chair. The seat felt warm, like it welcomed him. He pressed the starter. Switched out. At first nothing. Then a soft hum began under his feet. The panels glowed, lights blinking in soft patterns. The engine core came alive with a steady beat. Starflame floated a few inches off the ground, silent and smooth. To Mel, single quotes as heart pounded. He had done it. The ship wasn't dead. He tested the flight controls inside the shop, making small moves. The ship turned gently, like a leaf in the wind. But there was something more. When Tomo touched the side panel with his hand, he felt a soft pull in his mind, like the ship was reaching out to him. It wasn't just a machine. Starflame was alive. Tomo stood back and looked at the cruiser. The Jork called it garbage. The traders called it junk. But Tomo knew This ship was built for something greater. He didn't know who had made it or why it ended up here, but deep inside, he felt a strong bond with Starflame. This was the start of something new, and Tomel was ready. The morning air around Norva Station was filled with the sound of ships taking off and landing. Traders moved in and out, busy with their deals. Among them, Tomel worked inside his small workshop, eyes fixed on the strange cruiser he had named Starflame. It had been almost a month since he dragged the garbage ship inside. Now, the cruiser didn't look like junk anymore. Its outer frame still had cracks, but the metal shined under the workshop lights. The strange markings on its body glowed faintly, pulsing with soft blue light. But Tomel wasn't looking at the outside now. He was inside the cockpit, staring at the control panel. The symbols were still their known letters and signs. That didn't belong to any known alien language. The Jork had called it locked. They had given up. But Tomel, he kept studying. For days, he sat with a small scanner, watching how energy moved through the ship's control board. The wires weren't like normal wires. They carried energy in moving patterns like blood flowing in veins. Tomel learned something strange. When he touched certain panels with his bare hands, the ship responded faster. The lights blinked. The hum grew stronger. It was like the cruiser wanted him to use it. One evening, Tomel placed his hand on the control sphere, a round orb in the center of the panel. The moment his fingers touched it, the lights on the panel danced. A soft voice, not in words but feelings, entered his mind. Not strong, just a whisper. Ready. Tomel froze. Had he imagined it? Slowly, he pressed the sphere. The panel opened. A new section, one that had never shown before. A small screen flashed. Core system unlocked. Pilot recognized. Tomel's heart pounded. The ship had accepted him. The next days were like a dream. Tomel worked with new energy. The cruiser revealed systems hidden deep inside. He found a shield booster that wrapped the ship in a soft energy field stronger than anything he had ever seen. He tested it by dropping a metal rod on the ship's surface. The rod bounced off without leaving a mark. Then came the stealth system. Starflame could turn almost invisible to scanners. When he powered it on, nearby ships passed without noticing him. Tomel laughed like a child. This was no garbage. This was a treasure no one had understood. One night, as Tomel checked the engine room, he noticed something else, a second core hidden behind the main engine. It was a small, star-shaped device pulsing slowly. When he linked his scanner, the display read, Warp Pulse Engine, Standby Warp Pulse Engine. Tomel had heard of warp drives before, but this was something different. The readings showed it could jump across space faster than any known ship. His hand shook as he touched the frame. Why would anyone throw this away? He whispered. News of Tomel's strange ship began to spread. Traders passing by his workshop started whispering about the human with the living ship. Some laughed, some called him crazy, but a few, they started to believe. One morning, a small group of young traders came to see him. They walked into his workshop, eyes wide as they saw Starflame shining under the soft lights. Is it true? One of them asked. You really made this ship fly? Tomel smiled gently. I didn't make it fly. I just helped it wake up. They looked at each other, then at the cruiser. Will you show us? Another asked. Tomel thought for a moment. Then he nodded. He powered up Starflame's systems and took it outside for a short flight. The ship moved like a shadow in the sky, silent, smooth, turning faster than any craft should. Tomel pulled sharp turns, floated through tight spots, and landed without a sound. The traders cheered. Word spread faster. A few days later, an old trader named Jiran came to see Tomel. Jiran was known as a wise man among the Outer Rim traders. He didn't waste words. I heard about your ship, Jiran said, standing beside Tomel. And I heard the Jork left it as junk. Tomel nodded. That's true. Jiran stroked his chin. They don't like things they can't control. You may have found something rare. Tomel looked at the glowing cruiser. I think this ship was waiting for someone to listen. Jiran smiled faintly. Be careful, Tomel. Things of great value, they attract danger. Tomel understood. but deep inside, he felt no fear. Starflame wasn't just a ship, it was a friend, and together, they had a future. That night, as Tomal sat inside the cockpit, he placed his hand on the control sphere again. A soft hum answered him. The ship's lights glowed gently. This time, the feeling was stronger, ready to fly. Tomal whispered back, "Then let's see what we can do together." The morning of Starflame's first real flight came quietly. The air around Norva Station was calm, as if even the winds waited for what was about to happen. Inside his small workshop, Tomal stood beside his ship, running his hand along its smooth, silver surface. Starflame's soft hum echoed in the room, a sound that now felt like a heartbeat. Today was not a test inside the hangar. Today, Starflame would rise into open space. Tomal checked every system twice. The shield core pulsed steadily. The stealth drive was warmed up. The engine core hummed with soft light. He climbed into the cockpit and sat in the pilot's chair. The seat formed gently around him, holding him like it knew him. He placed his hand on the control sphere. Ready. The soft voice echoed in his mind. Tomal smiled. "Let's fly." Starflame lifted smoothly off the ground, floating out of the workshop bay. Tomal guided the ship through the wide gates of Norva Station, his heart racing. He had flown many ships before, but none had felt like this. The controls moved with a soft touch. The ship didn't just follow his commands, it seemed to understand them before he finished. They soared into the sky, passing clouds and sunlight until they reached open space. Norva's outer orbit was always busy. Cargo ships, trader crafts, and small scout vessels moved in every direction. Tomal guided Starflame through the traffic lanes, testing its handling. The ship twisted and turned with a grace that made other pilots glance in surprise. Even the air patrol officers blinked as the cruiser slid past them like a whisper. Tomal could feel it, the ship's energy, its silent power. This was no ordinary flight. This was freedom. A sudden alert blinked on his panel. Warning. Hostile. Signal detected. Tomal frowned. He checked the radar. 3 small ships were approaching fast from the dark side of Norva's moon. Their markings were sharp and cruel. Raiders, pirates often hid near Norva, waiting for weak traders. Today, they had found Starflame. A voice crackled over the comms. "New ship, stop your engines. Hand over your cargo, and we won't blast you." Apart, Tomal felt a chill. He had no cargo, but the pirates didn't know that. He could try to run, or trust Starflame. He placed his hand firmly on the control sphere. "I won't stop. Find someone else." The pirate laughed. "Your choice." "Fool!" The raiders fired. Starflame moved before Tomal even thought. The ship spun sharply, dodging the laser bolts with smooth, flowing turns. The shields lit up as one shot grazed the side, but the energy bounced off harmlessly. Tomal's heart raced. He wasn't a fighter pilot, but somehow, with Starflame, it felt natural. He slid behind the first raider's ship and pressed the attack key. A soft hum, then a sharp beam of blue light fired from Starflame's underbelly. The pirate's engine burst into sparks. The ship spun out of control. The second and third pirates broke formation, circling around. Tomal twisted Starflame between them. The ship danced like a shadow, flipping and sliding with moves no human ship should have. He felt his hand tighten. On the sphere, the ship responded faster, sharper, like it shared his thoughts. He fired again. The second pirate's ship exploded in a small flash of light. The third pirate turned to run. Tomal let out a long breath. The battle had lasted less than a minute. Starflame hovered quietly in space, as if nothing had happened. The soft voice echoed again in his mind. "Safe?" Tomal smiled. "Thank you." The news spread across Norva Station within hours. A human mechanic, flying a ship that moved like a ghost, had beaten 3 space raiders alone. Traders talked about it in hushed voices. Pilots stared at Tomal's ship with wide eyes when he landed back at the station. Some said it was luck, others said it was magic. But deep inside, Tomal knew the truth. Starflame was more than a ship. Later that evening, Rollo, his old friend, visited him at the workshop. "You really did it, Tomal," Rollo said, eyes wide with wonder. "I saw the vids. That wasn't luck. That was something else. Tomo leaned against the cruiser. I didn't do it alone. Starflame helped me. Rolo shook his head. I don't know what kind of ship this is, but you've got the whole station talking. Tomo gave a small smile. Let them talk. I have work to do. That night, as the stars glowed over Norva, Tomo sat in Starflame's cockpit. The ship hummed softly around him. He whispered, "We've started something, haven't we?" The soft answer filled his heart, yes. Tomo closed his eyes and leaned back. He didn't know where this path would take him, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore, and Starflame wasn't just a ship. Together, they were becoming something more. The sun over Norva Station shined bright, casting long shadows over the busy docks. Ships came and went, traders shouted deals, and crowds talked about one name, Tomo. The human mechanic with the ship that flew like a dream. Stories spread fast. Some said his ship could vanish into thin air. Others claimed it moved faster than any known cruiser. Tomo didn't care for fame. He kept working quietly in his workshop, fixing small ships and upgrading Starflame. But fame often brings attention from the wrong people. One afternoon, a tall figure entered Tomo's workshop. His skin was dark blue with sharp silver lines running along his arms. His eyes glowed faintly. "Azure, Captain." Tomo wiped his hands and looked up. "Can I help you?" The Jork smiled, though it was a cold smile. "I'm Brath, captain of the racer ship Vornik. I heard stories about your human toy." Tomo said nothing. Brath stepped closer. "I want to see if the stories are true. Tomorrow, we race, you and me." Tomo crossed his arms. "Why?" Brath gave a sharp laugh. "Because a human making. Fools of Jork pilots bring shame to our people. I will end these stories in front of everyone." Tomo met his eyes. "And if I say no?" Brath's smile vanished. "Then I will say you refused because you're afraid. The traders will believe me. Your name will be worth nothing." Tomo stayed silent for a moment. Then he said softly, "I'll race." Brath nodded once and walked out. The news exploded like fire across Norva Station. A human mechanic versus a Jork captain in a ship race? Crowds gathered in the main hall, placing bets and sharing stories. Some believed Tomo would surprise them again. Others laughed, saying no human could beat a trained Jork pilot. That night, Tomo sat in Starflame's cockpit. The ship hummed softly, its lights glowing faintly. "Big day tomorrow," Tomo whispered. "Ready?" The answer filled his heart. With calm, the race was set in Juno's Run, a deadly asteroid field known for sharp turns, sudden rocks, and hidden dangers. Only the best pilots dared to fly there. By morning, a huge crowd gathered around Norva's viewing decks. Ships hovered close, watching from a safe distance. Brath stood beside his ship, the Vornik, a sleek, black racer with twin engines that burned bright blue. He smirked as Tomo arrived in Starflame. "Hope you said goodbye to your pride." Brath said. Tomo climbed into his cockpit without a word. The starter drone floated between them. Its voice echoed across the comms. "Racers, prepare. 3, 2, 1, go." The ships shot forward like arrows. Vornik took the lead, sliding between rocks with sharp, sudden moves. Brath's hands worked the controls fast. His eyes focused. Tomo followed close behind. Starflame moved smoothly, its engines humming softly. "Let's see what you can do," Tomo whispered. The first sharp turn came. Brath twisted hard, skimming a spinning rock by inches. Tomo followed, but instead of turning, Starflame seemed to glide sideways, slipping past the rock with a soft pulse of light. The crowd watching gasped. Brath noticed. He growled and pushed harder, firing up boosters to gain distance. The asteroid field grew tighter. Rocks moved slowly, creating deadly traps. Brath shot forward, confident. He knew these routes. But Tomo didn't follow the path. Starflame twisted and turned between the rocks in ways that looked impossible. The ship moved like it floated on water, sliding through gaps that no other ship could fit. Halfway through the race, Brath called on the secret part of his plan. 3 small raider ships appeared from behind the asteroids. Brath smirked as they flew straight toward Tomo. "Let's see how you handle this, human." The crowd watching didn't know about the raiders. All they saw was danger closing in on Tomel. But Starflame moved without fear. As the raiders opened fire, Tomel whispered. Now, the stealth system activated. Starflame vanished from view, leaving only a soft shimmer. The raiders shot blindly, missing by miles. When Starflame reappeared, it was right behind Brath. Brath's eyes widened in shock. What? Tomel flew past him with a gentle hum. The crowd watching exploded with cheers. The final stretch came, a narrow tunnel between two giant asteroids. Only one ship could pass at a time. Brath slammed his boosters and shot forward, trying to block the way. But Starflame did something no one expected. The ship tilted sideways and slid through the tiny gap beside Brath's ship, passing by inches, even. Brath's mouth dropped open. On the other side, the finished marker flashed. Starflame crossed it first. The station roared with cheers. Traders shouted, some jumping with joy. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Tomel guided Starflame back gently, landing near the crowd. Brath arrived moments later, his face pale with shock. As Tomel stepped out, the crowd surrounded him. You did it? That was amazing. Starflame is a legend. Tomel smiled quietly. He wasn't seeking fame, but it felt good to see respect in their eyes. Brath walked up slowly, his pride wounded, but his eyes showed something new, respect. He gave a slow nod. You and your ship are worthy. Tomel nodded back. Thank you. That night, as the station lights glowed softly, Tomel sat in Starflame once more. You were incredible today. He whispered. We are strong together. Tomel smiled. Yes, we are. The night after the race, Tomel sat in the quiet of his workshop. The soft glow of Starflame filled the room with gentle blue light. The ship hummed softly. Like a sleeping giant, Tomel's mind was busy, but his heart was calm. He had proven something that many thought impossible: a human could match a Jork captain, flying a cruiser no one believed in. But questions still remained. Who had built Starflame? Why had the Jork thrown it away? And what secrets did the ship still hold? The next morning, a small visitor arrived, a trader named Lena. She was short, with bright green eyes and quick hands. Lena was known for finding rare things and trading secrets. Tomel, she said with a smile. I heard about your ship. Mind if I take a look? Tomel nodded. You're welcome. Lena walked around Starflame, touching its smooth hull. This isn't just a cruiser, she said softly. It's old, very old. Tomel frowned. How old? Lena looked at her data pad. Older than any Jork ship here. The design is alien. Not from this system. Lena brought her data pad close to a small port on Starflame's side. She plugged it in and began scanning. Suddenly, the ship responded with soft pulses of light. As if waking, Tomel watched in wonder. Lena's eyes grew wide. This ship, it's connected to an ancient race called the Virilians. Tomel blinked. Virilians, Lena nodded. They were a lost race, known for their advanced star technology. They disappeared long ago, leaving behind only fragments of their ships and secrets. Tomel ran his hand over the hull again. Why would the Jork throw away something so valuable? Lena looked serious, because they couldn't control it. They don't understand Virilian tech. To them, it's a broken tool. But to someone like you, it's a treasure. Tomel felt pride and sadness mixed together. Then Lena showed him something more. Look here, she said, pointing at her datapad. The screen showed a hidden file deep inside Starflame's system. A map. A map? Tomel asked. Not just any map, Lena said. This is a star chart showing routes to lost worlds and hidden star systems. Places no one has visited for thousands of years. Tomel's eyes widened. This ship is more than a fighter or racer. It's a key. The idea filled Tomel with wonder and fear. If the Jork learned about this, they might try to take the ship by force. Lena nodded. You need to be careful. This secret could change everything in the galaxy. Tomel looked at Starflame's glowing core. Then we have to protect it. Days passed with new energy. Tomel studied the map and the ship's systems. Starflame seemed to respond to his care. The ship's power grew stronger, and its controls became smoother. One evening, Lena returned with more news. There's a group called the HFY Council, she explained. They control the Union's politics and military. They have started asking questions about a lost cruiser and a human pilot. Tomo's heart tightened. They will come for you, Tomo, Lena warned. Tomo thought hard. He had no army, no weapons, just one ship and a few friends. But Starflame was different now. Together, they had a chance. He looked at the ship's glowing core and whispered, "We will be ready." The next morning, Tomo visited Rollo, his old trader friend. "I need your help," Tomo said. Rollo raised an eyebrow. "The HFY Council? That's serious trouble." Tomo nodded. "They want Starflame. I have to protect her." Rollo smiled. "Then you have me." Together, they began planning. Tomo's quiet life was changing fast. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a guardian of a secret that could reshape the stars. And Starflame was more than a ship, she was a legend in the making. The sky above Norva Station was dark, but the stars burned bright, shining like distant fires. Inside his workshop, Tomo worked late into the night, preparing Starflame. The ship hummed with quiet power, ready for whatever was coming. The news was clear. The HFY Council had sent warships to capture Starflame. They wanted the cruiser's secrets, and they would not stop until they had it. Tomo stood near the ship, looking up at the stars. "I won't let them take you," he said softly to Starflame. The ship responded with a gentle pulse of light. He was not alone. His old friend Rollo and a small group of traders and pilots had gathered around. "We stand with you," Rollo said firmly. Mel smiled. "Thank you." The next morning, the sky filled with warships. The HFY fleet was large, with dozens of sleek black fighters and heavy cruisers. Their leader's ship was massive, a fortress in space. Bristling with weapons and shields, the station's people watched in fear and hoped. Mel climbed into Starflame, heart steady but strong. The ship's systems hummed to life, shields glowing bright. Outside, the enemy fleet approached. "Ready for battle?" Rollo's voice crackled over the comms. Tomo nodded. "Ready." The battle began with a thunderous roar. HFY fighters swarmed like storms, firing lasers and missiles. Starflame moved like a shadow, dodging attacks with smooth grace. Tomo felt the ship's power flowing through him. He used the shield boosters to block blasts and the stealth drive to vanish from enemy scanners. But the HFY were strong and smart. They launched a heavy attack on the station's docks, hoping to force Tomo to surrender. Tomo called to his friends, "Protect the station. I'll hold them off." Traders and pilots formed a loose fleet, firing back at the raiders. Starflame led the fight, darting between enemy ships with speed no one expected. During the battle, Tomo discovered a new power. The ship's warp pulse engine could create short bursts of faster-than-light jumps. He used it to appear suddenly behind enemy ships, firing precise blasts that disabled their engines. The HFY warships were confused and frustrated. But the enemy leader's ship was still strong. It fired a massive energy beam toward Starflame. Tomo's shields glowed bright, taking the hit. The ship shook violently. He gritted his teeth and pushed the engines harder. Starflame leapt forward with a burst of speed, dodging to the side just in time. The fight went on for hours. Tomo's friends kept the enemy away from the station. But it was Starflame that made the difference. The ship's hidden powers and Tomo's skill turned the tide. One by one, the HFY warships were forced to retreat. At last, the leader's ship gave a slow retreat signal. The HFY fleet began to pull back. The station cheered loudly. Tomo let out a deep breath. Starflame's lights dimmed softly as the battle ended. Rollo's voice came over the comms, full of relief. "You did it, Tomo. You saved us all." Tomo smiled, looking out at the stars. "We did it, Starflame." The ship pulsed gently in reply. The battle was won. But Tomo knew the fight was not over. The HFY Council would return. But for now, Starflame was safe, and so was Norva Station. The sun rose gently over Norva Station, casting warm light on the bustling docks and busy streets. The people here had seen much change in the past weeks. The quiet human mechanic, Tomo, was no longer just a name whispered in the corners of shops. He had become a symbol of hope, courage, and strength. The story of how he turned a broken cruiser into a legend was told by traders, pilots, and citizens alike. Tomo stood beside Starflame in the center of the station's plaza. The ship gleamed, its silver hull shining like a star come to life. Crowds gathered around, cheering and clapping. Tomo smiled quietly, feeling the warmth of their respect. A small child ran up to him, eyes wide with wonder. "Can I fly your ship?" "Someday," the child asked. Tomo knelt down and smiled. "Maybe one day. But first, you have to be brave and never give up." The child nodded seriously. The victory over the Jork Council's warships had changed many things. Leaders from nearby systems sent messages of respect and friendship. The once proud Jork admitted their mistake in throwing away Starflame. Tomo had earned their respect not by fighting with hate, but by showing skill, courage, and trust in his ship. Starflame was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol of what humans could do with simple ideas, hard work, and belief in themselves. Tomo knew his journey was far from over. He had discovered the ancient map hidden in Starflame's systems, the one that showed lost star routes and forgotten worlds. Now, he planned to use that map. He wanted to find those lost places, explore the unknown, and bring new hope to the galaxy. With the help of old friends like Rollo and Lena, Tomo began assembling a small crew. They were not warriors or soldiers. They were explorers, traders, and dreamers. Together, they would take Starflame beyond the stars they knew. The station buzzed with excitement. People prepared supplies, repaired ships, and shared stories of adventure. Tomo felt a strong sense of purpose. He placed his hand on Starflame's control sphere. "Ready for the next journey?" he asked softly. The ship's lights glowed warmly in reply, "Always." As the crew boarded Starflame and prepared for takeoff, the crowd cheered louder than ever. Tomo took one last look at Norva Station, the place where it all began. Then, with a gentle hum, Starflame lifted off, soaring into the bright blue sky. The stars stretched out before them, full of secrets and wonder. Tomo smiled, feeling the ship's power and friendship beside him. Together, they were not just a human and a ship. They were a legend rising, and their story had only just begun.